Hey there, world changers and storytellers. Welcome to the space. We're going to be talking about perfectionism, and that's something that I've related to and struggled with in my life, but not so much in the last few years. And so I know that that's a huge thing out there in what you're facing in your Made for More journey and your projects and the dreams that you have. So this month I just thought we would tackle that. We're diving in deep. You are welcome to join the conversation. I hope you do. Be part of the Made for More group in following this as well. And I'd love to hear your victories and breakthroughs and revelations along the way. So this week we're going to talk about the doubts and desires of perfectionism. Next week, we're going to go into the mindset habits of a recovering perfectionist. And the third week, we're going to talk about the action habits of a recovering perfectionist. So I did this search online when I was looking for pictures of perfectionism, and I came across a whole pocket full of they were nature pictures of reflections in water, and absolutely stunning, right? There's this mountain or this beautiful quaint village sitting on some water, or maybe this ginormous rock in the middle of a lake, and it's sitting on the water, and the water is glassy, clear, and stunning, and the mirror of the picture in the water was just picture perfect. And even just looking at that picture, it took my breath away. And I thought, wow, that actually captures it so well. We have a dream in our mind, an idea, and it's full of potential and hope and peace. And in our minds, that idea is perfect, right? It hasn't been tainted by a reality, even if we separate it from our flaws and what we think of ourselves. That idea that we have is picture perfect, and we want to do our best to recreate it into reality. We think, if I can bring this to life, then these people will be helped, and the people will hear my message. My story will be heard. Those problems will be solved. But then what happens, right? So picture this majestic mountain standing over a clear, crystal clear lake. And say you're adventurous enough to hop into a canoe and start paddling across. And you look at that mountain and it just draws you in, and you're gliding across that lake, and you get closer to the mountain and it's bigger, and suddenly you can't see the whole thing. You're in the midst of it, and you get on the other shore and you start climbing up, and it's grueling. You think, you're doing this because, what would the view look from the top, right? It must be beautiful up there. So you start, climbing up the mountain, and it's taking longer than you thought. The mountain's bigger than you thought. It's hurting, you feel sweaty and gross, and it's no longer this picture of beauty anymore. It's taking some grueling work. Suddenly, you're not viewing the picture. You're not the observer anymore. So now you're in your picture. And take that into real life. When you think about your dream, the idea that you have in your head, you start putting action to it, and all of a sudden all of the flaws come face to face, right? And what would that look like? Some ideas maybe you can share in the conversation what some of those are for you. But maybe it's getting your website exactly the way you want it, so that it portrays the heart and the look and the feel of what you want it to, of your best self and your message. Maybe you have your very own book that you have in your mind, and you can picture that crisp cover holding it, and the reader reading it, and she's captured from the first word she reads, and she feels equipped to journey this transformation that you want for her. Maybe it's this ideal tribe that needs and loves your message, and you picture them welcoming all the opportunities that you have for them. Or Maybe like me this week, it's simply needing to find the perfect pair of comfortable jeans that fits your figure perfectly and makes you feel like $1,000,000 without all the dread of shopping, right? It could be anything. So now you've dipped your toe into the water. You realize that the journey is taking different than what you thought. And the people that maybe the people you outsourced your project to aren't translating what you imagined the picture to be. The brilliant words that you picture are in that book are not flowing from your mind, and all you're doing is staring at a blank page. You can't get your finger on how to put your finger on how to describe the people that you want to reach, that tribe that you want to connect with. And so that niche that you want to zero in on. And so your expectations are disappointed. You're kind of stumped. And so what do? Right? There's this gap between this perfect picture and where you are right now. And so that brings me to the thoughts. Right? That triggers a whole bunch of thoughts in your head. What are your default thoughts that come when that perfectionist kind of rears its ugly head? All of a sudden, it's not that beautiful picture anymore. It's turning into that darkness, right? For me, it's am I on the right track? Maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe somebody else could do this better. Maybe I'm not enough. I'm just me. Who am I kidding? Why am I even trying this? And what if what I accomplish doesn't portray the heart of what I want it to, and so people miss the message, right? There's so many thoughts that come in with this, and they can really block us from where we need to be. And so years ago, I worked for an organization where excellence was their key motto. And it was, doing the best with backtrack, I skipped ahead. The core value was excellence. And so at that time, I was a people-pleasing perfectionist with a top strength of responsibility, which was pretty much my undoing. And my gosh, when I hit burnout and realized I was just constantly trying to, I was staying longer, working overtime. I just never knew when enough was enough. Like the motto that we had to go by was, that'll do will never do. And I took that really seriously. But when I burnt out, I had to kind of look at my life. And so I figured out boundaries and figured out self-care and thought, okay, well, now what? I need a new motto that is stronger than someone else's motto for me. And so I chose, how can I do the best with what I have, right? And that served me for years. But recently, as I've kind of let even go of more perfectionism and moving forward, I realized a new motto that I have. And that is, how can I do the best with who I am and what I have? See, the manifestation and the focus of perfectionist tends to be performance driven. What can you accomplish? We're trying to do good, do better, fix this, adjust that, push a little harder. And then the antidote to that is just to escape it, avoid it altogether, right? Procrastinate, not even try. And that's not really the heart of what we want to do, right? The challenge is that what we do flows out of who we are. And that's why it comes back to that question is, am I enough, right? But the heart of all of this isn't about that at all. So the pressure to do and the striving, it wrings us so dry that we aren't even living from our best potential anymore. So that's why if we just talk about what to do and not to do about perfectionism, and if we just dove right into that this week, that's not going to help you at all, right? You've read those blogs, you've heard those sermons, those messages, those tips. You probably could rattle off some of them. Be more like this, do not like that, but that's not going to help us. So that's why we're starting with who we are. what your desires are behind that, so you understand the light in this whole journey, and not just focus on your perfectionism, because right then we have more shoulds to live by, and we just beat ourselves up more. And if you're like me, you're pretty good at that already. And so where do we start? So here's some tips to work with, and we'll chat about this this week. The first tip for you is to recognize that your perfect picture is a tool. It's not you. Its value is to draw you towards what you are desiring, right? What is the why behind what you're aiming for in your picture? It's that reason why you were made for more. The perfect picture, that picture perfectness, is meant to reveal things about you. It's meant to guide you. It's meant to serve you. It's not meant to own you or define you. Number 3 is to accept yourself for who you are and who you're designed to be, right? There's so much pressure and comparison. Oh, I need to be more like that person. I wish I were more like this. And that's what we focus on in our striving to accomplish and move towards this picture that we have in our head. But that doesn't have to go that way. When you talk about when you give yourself permission to be fully you and comfortable in your own skin, there's so much power. And that's what you love about the people that you're comparing yourself to. So copying them isn't going to get you where you want to be. Being fully you and finding the best way, the best steps to move forward, and the best equipment that you can, the best resources you can to do that, is powerful. And so that leads us to number 3, right? And kind of what my motto is based on. Number 3 is to inventory what you have and what your best would look like today, right? We'll get to, the planning and strategies and all of that in our 3rd week. But for today, what does your best look like with your time and your strengths? Is it your persistence? Is it your creativity? Is it your calm? Inventory, is it in your inventory? Is there the passion? What are you passionate for? What are the relationships that you can serve, or that whom you are serving? What are they asking and needing today? What do you already know? What else is out there? What do you have that you didn't think of using because you didn't think maybe it was good enough? Would that be okay to move you forward today? What do you have in your voice, in your perspective? These are all things you can consider, that when we're focused just on what we want or on our lack, sometimes we miss the resources that we have right in front of us because no one pointed them out. We didn't think that they were an option to use. So I would love to hear from you, your comments, your thoughts, and I want to know, do you have a motto or an affirmation that helps release you from perfectionism, whether for a moment, for a day, for a project? I would love to hear it. All right, we'll see you around.